All right, welcome to the Bless podcast, where we join Jesus where he's already at work, where we live, learn, work, and play. And today, it's a great privilege to welcome Chris Cooper, the founder of Bless Every Home, to our podcast. And Chris, look forward to you sharing more about the tool that you've created and the vision that's in your heart. So welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you for inviting me, Gary. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I can't wait for the viewers and the listeners to hear what you have to say. And also with me is a co-host, Brooke McMahon. Brooke is a director of operations for Love KC. Welcome, Brooke.
Thank you. It's
Hi,
great
Brooke.
to be here. Hey, Chris.
Yeah, Brooke's been a real good, energetic person who's come into the mix here, part of our team, and added a lot in many ways. So glad to have you, Brooke. And then I think a lot of the listeners and viewers know me, Gary Kendall, who I get to lead Love KC in Kansas City and also work with Chris on a national level as a prayer mobilizer for Bless Every Home. But probably the most important one is the one who is listening, because in reality, we're all here for you. So we see ourselves as servants who set the user, who's you, you're the champion. We want to set you up to win. So everything that we do really is to equip you, support you, and launch you into the ministry and life that Jesus has for you. So we're glad that you're here. You're joining either by podcast, or some of you are watching on YouTube, as we have a video vlog of this going on. So welcome. So glad that you're here. And here's kind of the short overview. If you're listening and you're in your car or you're at home and you're watching, just so you know where we're going. This is meant to be the first of 3 podcasts. So the first one's going to be kind of tailored to the individual who's using. So you're a person who is on mission. You're serving God as a missionary where you live, learn, work, or play. And we want to resource you. And then the next one will be very similar to it, but it will be aimed at pastors and church leaders, talking primarily about how churches can use this great tool that Chris has created. And the third one will really be aimed at city leaders. So you may want to listen to all 3. They will be similar but different in the focus of them. For example, today as we talk about these tools, we won't go in great depth. We're really trying to whet your curiosity. We're trying to give you a taste and have you, we want to leave you wanting more. So we won't overwhelm you today with a lot of details about how, but we do want to talk about what and get you going, because what you're going to find is when you give God a chance, he's going to show up in big ways. And we can hardly wait to hear your stories. So with that said, let me go right to you, Chris. You had a vision many years ago that actually kind of culminated in 2020, which is where we are now. So tell us about your vision for every home in the United States, every neighborhood.
Well, actually, Gary, it started back in 1996 right there in Kansas City with the Jesus Video Project, when Campus Crusade asked us if we would help distribute the Jesus film VHS tape with a plate of cookies and a personal note to every, so we invited believers in Kansas City to adopt an average of 4 unchurched, far from God neighbor homes, pray for them during the year, work on their relationship, and then at Christmas time, they gift wrap the Jesus VHS tape, put it with a plate of cookies and a personal note that says something like, "Fun to be your neighbor, hope you enjoy this as much as we have."
Hey, Chris, Brooke Brooke might be so young she doesn't know what a VHS is.
I do know what a VHS is. I'm not that young.
Right. And the thing is, they used to sell for $7.50 a piece. There was actually VHS tapes back then sold for on average $20 a piece
Wow.
in 1996. So so what we did was we organized this process where about 10,000 believers in Kansas City adopted over 40,000 neighbor homes who were probably far from God.
Wow.
And unchurched. And some of those were family members and that sort of thing. But So that's what happened in 1996, and we developed this kind of platform or a support tool to facilitate that outreach. And then Campus Crusade for Christ and the Southern Baptists and the AGs and Nazarenes and all invited us to launch a national ministry back in 1997. And so our vision is that every single home in America would be adopted by one or more Lights for Christ who are networked within every neighborhood in America as missional communities.
Yeah.
So that's the.
I love it. I love it every time I hear you share that. I've heard you share that many, many times. It inspires me every time. And you know, Chris, this may be the day. This may be the time. You know, we have more people leaning in toward social media, using online tools, et cetera, more than ever. You know, we always say at Love KC, don't just go to church, be the church. Well, now you can't even go. you just be the church all the time. So your tools are really great for us. And in a few minutes, I want you to take us through maybe a quick flyover, show your screen and show us Bless Every Home. For the moment, though, I want to talk about the partnership that we have together with Love KC. So 2.5 years ago, I left Indian Creek Community Church, where I was a senior pastor and founding pastor for 30 years. And I felt like God was telling me to leave one church to serve many. I felt really clearly in my heart that we were supposed to see every neighborhood in Kansas City adopted by a disciple living on mission. But I did not know about Bless Every Home. And if you go to the very first Bless podcast, I tell the story of God whispering to me one time when I was in my basement, right where I am now, to go find Chris Cooper. And when I found Chris, and I was telling him about the vision that God had given me for Kansas City, he said, I think I have what you need. And Bless Every Home became that tool that helped us to reach what's now become nearly 2,500 neighborhoods in Kansas City. So this partnership has been one that really was just the Spirit guided us together. And I'm so thankful that we connected, Chris. We have a Kansas City version of your original version to see every neighborhood adopted by one or more persons living on mission, where they live, learn, work, and play.
Yes, that was a God-ordained appointment too. You remember that?
It was. I was so shocked when you asked me to tell the vision. I told you the vision, and you started kind of laughing and said, have you ever heard of blesseveryhome.com? And I said, no. And you said, I think I have what you need. And that was true. Let me bring Brooke in here, though. Brooke, you kind of arrived, I think we met over a year ago, but we actually started working together September, October timeframe. So you have fresh eyes. What have you seen through the using the idea of everybody being a missionary? What have you seen? How's that impacted you? A lot of our viewers probably have fresh eyes like you have fresh eyes. What would you say to them about Bless Every Home and Love KC and this partnership we have to reach a city for Jesus?
Yeah, so even with my personal experience, about 20 years ago, I did mission work with this organization called Mission Discovery down in Mexico. And the whole emphasis was go back home and find your mission. Like, you don't have to go to a different country or a different area to find a mission. There's a mission field right where you're living. And so I'm so thankful that God gave me that foundation, because I was a new believer. So he started me off the bat with this this idea of, oh, there's a mission back home. And so he also taught me at the beginning too, that prayer is the foundation for this happening. If Absolutely. I'm not in prayer, then I'm kind of spinning my wheels. And so I remember I was going to college on college campus, and I would be in prayer like every day for God to use me. And he made it so easy. Like, he literally would bring people to me. I didn't really have to try that hard or go find someone necessarily. He would literally like bring me in with them, and it would be so easy and obvious that he was moving in these people's lives. And so now when I found out about Bless Every Home, I'm like, this is genius, because this is, and obviously we're not advocating to never witness to anyone else and only love your neighbors. And because like you say, where you live, learn, work, and play. And so, but specifically though, with where we live, it's an amazing tool to get to know your neighbors, and especially at a time like this with the COVID-19, how beneficial it is to know your neighbors and to have such an opportunity to love them and reach out, and you have the tools to do that. So
Yeah.
I've been in like a temporary place right now. It's been almost a year, but I'm moving out in 3 weeks to get married. And so I am
Yay.
like so
Congratulations.
excited to, thank you, to type in my new address and learn my neighbors who, we're planting ourselves into a neighborhood. So I'm just so excited to put this great tool to use.
Hey, I'm glad you led with the fact, Brooke, that you were praying and asking God to use you, because that really is that's where it all starts. I like to.
Yeah, and we talk a lot. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We talk a lot about that with Love KC. I mean, it's the pray, care, share,
Right.
disciple model.
Right.
And so prayer is the foundation. And then once you do that, and like I said, back in the day, God like brought people to me. And so he'll do that. Once you start praying and really committing, he will bring the people. And so this is our focus at Love KC. And we just are here to support every believer, pastors, churches, to make your home a mission outpost, and for you to be a missionary wherever you go, and even specifically where you live. So
yeah, see, I love that. That's why I wanted you to say that again, because we know that this is really an expression of the second great commandment that Jesus invited. I mean, basically he said, love God and love your neighbor as yourself. And so this is really a simple, scalable, anybody can do it way to love our neighbors. But Chris invented something very new and very helpful. But this idea of loving your neighbors has been around, since Jesus. In fact, he called his disciples and said, "Come follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And one of the things that I found out as a pastor, it's actually one of the reasons why I left the pastorate, was because I felt like the day and the hour that we live in really requires every one of us to be a witness, every one of us to be a disciple, every one of us to live on mission.